Hello, everyone. Welcome to Design Collective. We have created this forum to discuss more on user experience design fields. Um, we are augmented virtual reality enthusiasts, and we have gained some knowledge over the time. I have my friends Justin and Pushpendra here today for a discussion on augmented reality. We are AR/VR enthusiasts for some time, and whatever knowledge we have gained so far, we plan to share this with you today on this session. So, hope you enjoy this discussion on augmented reality. So, the introduction to augmented reality is a element add-on on the real object or environments, and it helps enhance the real world information. Having information overlay on real time objects or real world. We have been using augmented reality to improvise navigations for some time. There have been usages in exhibition and art displays, and the technology has helped to improvise navigation during the test flights as well. So far, these are the few usages where AR has proven its utility in the real world.
Hirokazu Kato did this way back in 2000, and it's already a 20-year-old history that we have with AR. And so people have been doing quite a lot of technological advancements in AR. They were doing it with devices because smartphones were not there before, and people had access to screen technologies where they could interact with objects on the screen. But in 2000, that was not the case. But still, they could use it in a very controlled environment, and they were managed to release a software toolkit which kind of laid the foundation of the future toolkits as well. But we see a lot of different things happening in future, like games and entertainment.
The very popular examples, if I would like to give, is you must have heard Pokemon Go, which is a very popular AR game, and it kind of taken things by storm in 2017 and 18, and still it's very popular. And recently in 2019, Angry Birds also gone into AR way, and their this new mobile game is quite satisfying. And these are the two very popular and successful examples in terms of entertainment, and especially in gaming.
So I think it's a good idea to understand what user experience means within the domain of VR. So there are basic fundamental principles of user experience which we clearly utilize when we are designing for augmented reality, and it's same as designing 2D interface, following the same principle of giving users enough visual cues, giving users sound cues, giving users time and space to interact seamlessly in a 3D environment. Since the movement is not restricted, it's a 360 degree movement. So freedom of surrounding is the entire 360. So we have to design in a way where users are encouraged and given enough opportunity to interact with whatever augmented object which is brought into their real field. How we do that? So I think there are few things. A computation device. Obviously, we need it could be a computation device which is a phone or with a tablet or some sort of a headset which can clearly map the real world and the virtual object in the real world uh, seamlessly without any delay. That is something which is important for to aid the same thing. We use many kind of sensors, um, all shapes and sizes, whatever the hardware support needs, and a camera which is very important to scan the real world and map it properly with the overlaid object. The interfaces will how one interact with the environment. So um, like any other 2D interface, we have same techniques: tap, swipe, pinch. Have a AR tap, which is pretty much what has been used in HoloLens. Have voice cues, have information on hover over, interact using facial expressions. One thing to be careful here is understanding the ergonomics, because ergonomics plays an important role. Uh, as a user, I could be moving. I could be static at one place. So if whenever the movement happens, it's important to take care of ergonomics, and also the space, so that user does not bump into any other interfering object while performing any task. Colors are also a good way to provide visual cues, add weight to object using light, and create mass and depth illusion. So play with light and shadows to add weight to an object. How we make a object more visible or more impactful. So those are the core techniques when we think of designing designing for augmented reality environment. One thing um, for sure to bank upon is having empathy for your users. So put yourself in your user shoes, that how they are going to interact with certain environments when there are uh, augmented objects are there, and how that interaction is going to take place. If we take care of these finer things, I think it's not very challenging to define for a to design for a augmented environment. Always think about X, Y, and Z axis. So X, Y, we are pretty used to when we are working on web interfaces or mobile interfaces or any sort of device-based interfaces. But when we design something for which is free in the space, it's very important to take care of the depth factor. So think in those perspective, and um, have fun designing for augmented objects in augmented reality space. Over to you, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Kiran. I think fidelity of graphic content also is something which is important in augmented reality, because in VR you actually interact with a lot of virtual content, and the mind believes that it is virtual. But in augmented reality, you are actually seeing the real world with the camera, and you're seeing it on the screen. So you are seeing exactly as it is. But when you bring in some digital content in it and mix with the real world impression, it becomes highly unlikely that the mind believes that what you are saying is real or fake. So in that case, the movement of the 3D object in the real world impression is very important in terms of how things are appearing in the physical space around you. So that makes a huge impression for the users, anybody who is using augmented reality. For example, in terms of games as well, we see if Angry Birds don't appear properly in your own physical space, and if they are not bouncing properly on a surface, you know that the surface in front of you, whether it's a table, it's a real table in front of you. So your mind believes that it's a real table. But the Angry Bird that jumps on it, it doesn't. Uh, if it doesn't jump properly on that surface, and the shadows are not casted on the surface of the table, it means that there is something wrong. So your mind immediately catches that, and it knows that it's not happening properly. So that's where I think the fidelity of content plays a huge role in augmented reality, and it gets impacted with internet connections. You need to load the content on the go. If you are on mobile internet, then it becomes even more difficult sometimes, because there will be fluctuations in connections, and sometimes the objects will not be loaded faster, and sometimes it will be a little low res as well. So it becomes it's more concerning compared to how things are dealt in virtual reality or VR headsets?
So there are two major operating system. One is Android and another is iOS, which is like uh, well-known names here. So Android with iOS kit, which one is best? So we will look at those terms. AR kits for popular mobile OS. Both iOS and Android come with their very own SDK AR kits. So AR kit is for iOS and AR core for Android. And when we are going for development for mobile AR experiences, we need to look at key 4 points. One is 3D mapping, another is 2D plane tracking, another is measurement and light estimation, and fifth point we can consider what interactive features these AR kits are offering. So let's talk about 3D mapping. 3D mapping is how the device figures out what the environment looks like. Both program excel in their field, but with the different regions. AR Core is excellent at mapping out your surroundings thanks to new depth API. So AR Core has a API which is measuring depth very well. It tracks points in space as your device moves, allowing your device to create an accurate map of its surrounding with a single moving camera. That means that virtual objects can hide behind real ones and look very real. So it doesn't float into air. It doesn't look abnormal. It fits into the environment very well. So that is a plus point with Google AR Core. AR kit from iOS Apple can oculate objects too, but not quite well as Google AR Core. While it can map objects, these map tend to be clunkier and less accurate than AR Core.
Mm-hmm.
Its primary occlusion feature is pupil occlusion. Basically, iOS AR kit is very good at when collision with the pupil rather than other objects in real environment. It occulates with people very well than AR core. So its primary occlusion feature is pupil occlusion, meaning the virtual objects appear to pass behind the pupil. However, the edges are not clearly as clean as would be in AR core. So if you are going for a app where your object is only need to stick to the environment, then you should look at the 2D plane tracking. So 2D plane helps your object to stick to the ground. If you look at the third party SDK, they are very good at 2D plane mapping. One is called Spark AR, another is Vuforia. But both AR Core and AR Kit support 2D plane tracking, but they are not as good as these third party AR kits. David Murphy, as live hacker, compared the iOS and Android AR measurement apps and concluded that AR kit tends to be a bit more accurate. Of course, neither app is perfect, but both have a margin of error. Google is a bit larger. If your app needs to accurately measure objects, consider AR kit. So AR kit from iOS is really good at measuring the objects, and where you need precision measurement in your app, then you should consider iOS AR kit. Sometimes the look of the virtual object is more important. Yeah.
Light uh, plays a very big role in creating and defining augmented objects. So it's not something that can be risked upon. And in this category, both ARKit and AR Core seems to do well, but ARKit still renders objects very well and probably be a future leader if we look in terms of the lighting of objects in an AR environment. If your application needs high quality measurement features, then go for ARKit offered by Google.
Which is better for AR development, whether AR kit or AR core. I think in terms of human motion, AR kit is more appropriate because it is great at figuring out human motion and where human beings are, and it has a great impact in terms of how 3D models interact with the humans. But the audience is very limited for it. Developers can still use ARKit. And if they are focusing more on the environment and around them, so AR Core is preferentially the better option, which is for Android. And that means it can measure the distance very well. It can calculate terrain and understand the user space. It can calculate objects and measure the objects more efficiently. That's why the occlusion is better in AR Core and Android. So there are two different options to choose from, and two of them give two different results in terms of how users perceive the environment or their own motion.
With all the discussion, we learned about the history of the AR, how AR is being perceived today, and the future looks bright, as we see. Over the years, AR has achieved quite a journey, being as a technology, a strained technology, which was only to be consumed in a restricted environment, within a room, within a certain sort of setup. But now it's become like a mass consumable, thanks to the phones and the tablets and the new age technology, which can consume it and which can make it available to a vast user group. And we probably will see more magic of augmented reality in coming future. Uh, as we have seen so far, that it's been very well consumed in gaming space, in B2C environments, where retail shopping has been brought to users much closer. You can try clothes, you can try jewelry, accessories, whatever, using your phone, and see that what to buy and what not to buy. You can set up virtual furniture in your living room and see that how it looks. So slowly it started making way in our day-to-day life. um, I hope that in future we'll see more of this getting into in little serious domains, manufacturing, supply chain, and obviously healthcare. That could be a good add-on to this technology. And also, Justin, if you want to add few more aspects to the future of augmented reality.
Thanks, Red. Thank you for highlighting this regarding entertainment and games in mobile. I think what we are seeing over the years is people are using more and more smartphones because of the advancement in processor technology and how microchips have gotten smaller and smaller and more powerful over the years, and that helped them to have more powerful devices that can compute data at much higher speeds, and that enables people to play AR games much more immersively and faster in the mobiles. So technology has improved, and that has made accessible, uh, you could say, interfaces people could use as much more handheld interfaces, and they could use it as a screen to interact with the physical world. I think one of the examples that you pointed out before is the Pokemon game and Angry Birds that has become a huge hit for people who have been playing them. It's not that everybody is playing those games, but slowly, the amount of people who are adopting AR has become much faster compared to what it was in 2010. And we are seeing a lot of growth in terms of how games are being made for augmented reality, because it's not just the potential of the devices, but it's also that a lot of people can easily download them from stores. And more developers are now exploring AR Core and AR Kit as the media to use it. And since they are open source, a lot of developers can actually build plugins or some sort of engine to support. I think one of the things where a lot of developers have been using AR is also Unity and Unreal, and those technologies are also open source and they are improving day by day. And there are new versions coming up, and developers are using it more in the coming days. So there is a huge potential in terms of how mobiles and devices are being used. And also there are those challenges which people faced in terms of headsets, which are not there now. There are a lot of better alternative headsets available. So it is becoming much more easier for people to consume AR.
So with this, we come to the end of our discussion on augmented reality. Do let us know your thoughts on this session, and if you have questions, you can always reach out to us on this channel, uh, and we'll keep on sharing new discussions, new thoughts on emerging design experiences, uh, and peace. See you in the next session. Thank you.